Hello, and welcome to your Week 3 lecture video. This week we're going to dive a little deeper on some of the topics we've already previously talked about, hence no slides. We're going to, so like last week we created our first instance, right? We accessed the Learner Lab, we created our first instance. This week we're going to create everything we need, a VPC, subnets within the VPC, an internet gateway, a route table, security group, and then we're going to create a new VM in that new VPC and security group and all that fun stuff that we've created. And then on that instance, we're going to install IP tables, which you worked with in OPS 245, and we're going to spin up another instance and port forward the traffic. Incoming SSH traffic to that first instance that we create, which we're going to call router. We're going to forward on a particular port to another instance. This sort of port forwarding, we're going to do a lot in this course. It's going to be really how most of the things go, and it's one of the trickier things that students tend to get hung up on. So just be careful with it and pay attention, and we'll go through and double check everything, right? So I'm logged into the Learner Lab. I have the student view thing, you do not. I'm going to launch it, right? And start it up just because you guys are new to this. Could be useful seeing what all the buttons do and just kind of a refresh, right? We already learned a bunch of this. So we see the dot's red, it's not started. We're going to start it. When you're done, you can just click End Lab. I had somebody sent me an email, or a couple people sent me an email about this, or a Teams message or something. You can just click End Lab and it'll stop all the instances and everything. Never, ever click Reset, because that will wipe everything. You don't want to do that. It'll set it back to the default settings. So it's starting up. We see the dot's yellow. I'm going to pause, give it a minute, it'll turn green, and we'll go in. Alright, that wasn't that long actually. So I'm going to click the link and go in. There we go. So we're scrolling down a fair ways in the Lab 2 instructions. So this little bit up here, that's all the theory about how this works. So you should read through that, right? We talked about VPCs last week. We talked about subnets. We're going to have public IPs, right? You can only access things publicly on the internet if they have a public IP. We're going to assign something that we haven't talked about actually, an elastic IP. So that's a way of reserving an IP from AWS's DHCP pool and binding it to one of our instances. Now, elastic IPs are interesting. This is one of those things that's going to eat into your budget. Elastic IPs are, you're charged for them when they're not in use. They're totally free when they're in use. So when your instance is up, it's not costing you money. And technically, if you deassociate it with your instance, it won't cost you money, but don't bother. Just leave it associated because it's a little too complicated doing other things. And we'll look at that in a few minutes. But yeah, elastic IPs, they're going to cost you money. We're going to need one or two of them for this course. It's okay. I've already mentioned, right? Don't panic about your budget too much. You're going to see it's being used up a little bit over time. More often than not, like every time you log in, because that elastic IP only bills you when it's not in use, right? So when you disconnect, you're done for the week, and you log in next week, you're going to see your budget shoot up a little bit. Just follow the lab instructions, you should be fine. And the assignments, right? In fact, you can see mine went up a little bit, right? 10 cents. Because it's been sitting here for a week doing nothing. So, we're going to edit our VPC, or we're going to create a VPC, rather. We can get there one of two ways. We can go to EC2, or we can go through VPC. Either works. I'm going to click on VPC. So we're going to click, we could click your VPCs. Or we can just click create VPC right here, I think. So let's do that. Let's not do that. Let's do it the other way, because this is a totally different interface than the one you're showing in the lab, and I want to do it the right way. So we're going to click create VPC. We want VPC only. We're going to call it VPC OPS 345, and we are going to give it a subnet, a CIDR block. Whoops, I didn't hit numlock. What's going on? My virtual machine isn't recognizing the touchpad or the keypad. That's fine. I can do it the other way. So we're going to set it to 10.3.45.0/24. Oops. We're not going to do anything with IPv6. And we're going to use the default tenancy. Everything else is the same. So we're just going to click create. And there you go. It's there. Now, we're going to set a subnet in that VPC. So we're going to click subnets right here. We're going to click create subnet. We need to create this within our VPC. We're going to give it a name. We're going to set the subnet dash OPS 345, and we're going to set it to US East 1A. And we're going to give it the CIDR block. So 10.3.45.0/20. Whoops. Right, I'm doing that thing again. I don't know why it's not recognizing that. It's really quite annoying. 0/25. We've got another subnet within there, right? We've taken that /24, we've made it a /25, and we're going to do some stuff with it later. And we're going to create it. And it's there. Now, we're going to select our subnet. We're going to edit subnet settings. And we are going to make sure we turn on auto assign public IPv4 addresses. So our instances always get a public IPv4 address. That's a good thing. And then click save. Because without a public address, you're not going to be able to install anything, right? So you want a public address on your instances. Now, we need to do a bit more. We need to create an internet gateway. So we're going to click on Internet Gateway. So we're just going down the side here, right? Create Internet Gateway. We're going to give it a name. OPS 345-Internet-Gateway. And we're just going to create it. Look at that. And then we are going to attach it to our VPC. So you click Actions, Attach to VPC, select our VPC. The identifier it gives it by default doesn't really help, but we see VPC OPS 345, so that's our correct one. And we attach it. Look at that. That's done. So the Internet Gateway is going to allow us internal and external access to the Internet from our instances. So it's an important thing. Next, we're going to create a route table. So we click on Route Tables. We click Create Route Table. Creating a lot of stuff this time, aren't we? We're going to give it a name. So OPS 345 Route Table. Whoops. And we're going to attach it to our VPC. and we're going to create it. Now once it's created, we're going to edit our routes, and we're going to add a default route to the quad 0, so that's anywhere, right? And we're going to set it to our internet gateway. And if you just click the drop down, you see OPS 345 internet gateway. There we go. I don't think I missed anything. Let's click Save Changes. And yep, that looks right. And now we need to associate it with the subnet. So we go to Actions, Edit Subnet Associations. Hold on. So actually nothing to do there, it looks like. Because I think it's fine. We see our two routes. We see... Oh, there's no subnet association. Okay, so we need to fix that. Edit subnet associations, and we're going to check the box. There we go. That screenshot was a bit confusing, wasn't it? And click Save Associations. There we go. Now I think we're good. If I click on subnet associations, we should see, yep, it's populated there. We're good. Notice you could get there that way too. Now, still more to do. Still more to do. We've created our environment, right? But we're going to add a security group and then create an instance. We're going to call it router, and it's going to do some port forwarding for us. Yeah. So click on security groups. This you've done previously, right? We're going to create a security group. We're going to call it, I don't know why it's popped up there, OPS345 router SG. You could give it a description here. Actually, you have to give it a description, because if you don't, it won't create. So, router security group, or something to that effect. I think in the lab it says, yeah, it says security group for router instance. Yeah, that's good enough. Make sure you select the correct VPC here. Notice that 172.31, that's the default. You're always going to have to, when you create things, double check and make sure it's creating the correct VPC. Because if it's not going to be accessible to other resources in that VPC. We're going to add an inbound rule here. I'm just going to click SSH to allow inbound SSH from anywhere. And we're going to click Create. Now, if you forgot when you created this to to add that rule, you could do it here. You just click Edit Inbound Rules, and you click Add Rule and stick it in. So it's not the end of the world if you forget or miss it. You don't have to go back. You don't have to delete anything. You can just go edit it. We are ready to start creating an instance within our, well, everything that we just set up. So we're going to go into EC2 now. We're going to click on Instances. This you've done previously. We're going to click Launch Instances, right? We're going to call it OPS. Oh, no. We're going to call it Router. Because it's going to act like a router. We're going to use Amazon Linux 2023. Default instance type and everything else is fine. We're going to select our our key that we created last week. If you lost it, create a new one, obviously, right? But we're going to select that one, assuming we didn't lose it. And this next step is important. It's going to go into that default VPC. and that's not where we want it. We want it in our VPC. So we click Edit on Network Settings, and we can specify the VPC we want it in. We can specify the subnet we want it in. We already only have the one subnet. We want to auto-enable IP addresses. We need that. And we can create a security group here, or we can select an existing one. We already created the security group, so we're going to select it. And if we click Advanced Network Configuration, we can give it a primary IP, a static IP, effectively. Whoops, I'm doing that numpad thing again. So 10.3.45.10. The first 4 addresses are not usable. They're assigned to everything, or other things. The first 4 addresses in the subnet. We're just going to start with 10. That's fine. And we're going to leave the default storage. Look at that. We're going to launch instances. Yay. Now, we also need to give it an elastic IP. So let's wait for that to finish creating. This first one, incidentally, we're never going to use again. You could get rid of it if you want. I'm just going to leave it, but you could get rid of it. Doesn't really matter either way. So if we check the box beside our instance there. Hold on. That's not what I want. I want elastic IPs down here. There we go. Under networking and security. So we're going to allocate a new IP address. That means we're gonna request one. We could give it a tag if we want, just so we can identify it later. There we go. And you can do this later too. Well, maybe not. Maybe the other thing I did didn't take. There we go. Router IP in the name there. Look at that. That's the easier way to do it. I don't know what the hell the other thing I did just did. And then now we've allocated it, right? We have one. We've requested it and we're reserved it. This is the thing that's going to cost you money. Now we want to associate it. So we could have just done that right there, or check the box, click Associate IP Address, associate it with your router instance. I'm going to check that because that could be a useful thing, and we're good to go. So there we go. You might want to write this down in your lab logbook, because that's the IP you're going to be using. So now we are going to connect to our instance. It's created. It should be running. So how do we connect? Well, we can connect this way, right? And that should work. Using the EC2 instance connect. There we go, we're in. Or we could also click the SSH client, copy that right there. And there's a couple ways of doing this, right? We could change to that OPS 345 keys. Was it SSH? Something like that? Yeah. And then paste it right in here. Or you can change this to be up that path, right? Either is correct. Say yes. Boom. We are in. so two things. We're going to change our host name and our user, right? So sudo user add -m. What did I call it in the other one? Hold on. Did I call it JM Carmen? I think I did. I'm going to do the same thing. Sudo user add -m JM Carmen. And then we need to vi etc sudoers .d 10.ops 345-users. Oops, that's a dash, not a dot. You don't have to use vi for this either, right? You could use nano. I'm used to using vi. So insert mode JM Carmen all equals all, no passwd :all. And then let's try it out. Let's not try it out yet. Let's copy our key first, then we'll try it out. So sudo -i ls-al.sh, right? So we're going to copy that recursively to ~jm Carmen sudo chown -r JM Carmen ~jm Carmen.sh. And then there was that one thing that we got stuck on before, right? Let's see if it happens again. I think it might. Oh, I need to exit again. This might not work. It might log us out right away. I'll show you how to fix it. Look at that. Exactly as I thought would happen. I'm just going to Control C. So, cat.sh. What was it? Public. Let's do an ls on that directory. Authorized keys. That's what it is. It's up there. Right here on the screen. I don't need to use ls. cat.ssh auth. So there we go. There's our block there, right? And now let's use sudo because we're going to look at somebody else's. JM Carmen.ssh authorized keys. Oops, I don't have cat in there. Missed the command that I'm trying to issue. And see, we got some crazy junk in front of that, right? It should just start with SSH RSA. So the easiest way to fix this, our good friend vi, and we just delete everything. And now, save and exit, of course, right? :x, escape :x. Now, yay, we're in. That should work, and it did. It says delete the EC2 user. Just leave it. It's fine. It's not going to add any extra security. We're in. We want to use hostname CTL to set the hostname now. So let's do that. Give me a second. Sudo -i again. Hostname CTL set hostname router.jmcarmen.ops345.org. Not org, CA. Done. And we are we're relatively, well, we're done with this part initially. We're going to do some more stuff in a minute. We're going to go back to EC2 for a second. And we're going to go into our, hold on, EC2, network and security, network interfaces. And that one that's associated with our router instance, we're going to give it a name. Router-NIC. Just because we're going to have more in there later, right? And it's going to make it easier to find if we need to do anything with it. I think you could also have done that this way. If we go to our instance, go to our router, it's somewhere in here. Networking. That one right there. So you can access it that way too. And look, oh, router NIC. Yay, it worked. So back to our command line in our instance. That won't have disconnected us or anything. I'm just going to type exit. And remember, that host name we set won't take effect until we reboot. But if we do sudo hostname CTL, we see it's there, right? It'll apply once it's reboot. You don't need to reboot right now to apply it. Just let it, the next time you spin up your Learner Lab, it'll be there. That's fine. Next, we're going to install IP tables. Sudo dnf-y install IP tables services. I've been using Debian a lot lately, so I had to think for a second because I was ready to type apt, and that's not going to work, right? Because this is Red Hat based, not Debian based. So there we go. And now we're going to create a new instance, and then we're going to do some stuff with IP tables. We're jumping around again. So instances. We're going to launch instance. We're going to call it WW. Amazon Linux 2023. Yep, that's what we want. Scroll down, select our key pair, right? Standard stuff. Let's edit our VPC. We want it in our VPC, right? We're going to give it a static IP, which is actually down a bit farther. Under advanced networking configuration. There we go. Just because I'm going to forget if I don't do it right. Oh, that fucking numlock thing again. 10.3.45.11. And we are going to create a security group, which is a bit different than what we've done this before, right? We're going to call it OPS 345 WWSG. We're going to call it, I don't know, web. I'm just going to say OPS 345 web server security group, because that's what this is going to be eventually. We're gonna rebuild this instance later, and that actually looks fine. We're going to allow SSH. Hold on. What's going on here? We're just going to edit that, I think, afterwards. Oh, we can add rules. There we go. Add rule. So SSH inbound from our router security group. There we go. And I'm actually going to leave this one, because if we just stick with this, you're going to lose the ability to use the Instance Connect. So that's fine. And I think we're going to click Launch Instance. Oh, we want to name the NIC. Give it a description. www-nic launch instance. There we go. So, that instance, I mean, technically we should be able to connect to it externally, unlike what the lab says, because we allowed SSH from anywhere. But we're going to do this port forwarding thing. It's the foundation for everything we're going to do this semester, so it's an important thing to do. So we're going to go into our router security, our router, right? We're in router right now. And we're going to create some iptables rules. There's nothing there by default. Just confirming. There we go. So we're going to -t nat to the NAT table, -a pre-routing, -p TCP -d port 2211. So that's going to send incoming traffic on port 2211 to jump, whoops, to dnat 2 10.3.45.11:22. So that's port 22 on the WW instance that we just created. So incoming port 2211 to our router is going to be forwarded by iptables to port 22 on our router. Sorry, on www. Let me say that again, because I confused myself with that sentence. Incoming traffic on port 2211 to our router instance is going to be forwarded to port 22 on our WW instance. Hopefully that makes sense. That's not quite enough. We need to... I don't think this one's actually necessary. Yeah, that one's fine. -t nat -a post routing -o en x0. So that's our interface. It's going out that interface on our router. We're going to jump to masquerade. That's our action, right? And if we do an iptables -l-n-t nat. So -l lists, right? -n should have given us 9 numbers, and we're looking at the NAT table. Yeah, I think we're good. It matches what's in the screenshot. So we see 2211 goes to our router, or sorry, to www, and everything's going to be masqueraded. Now we want to save it. iptables-save, which, let's see if this works. Let's, one of the biggest problems students run into is they configured their iptable stuff, everything works great. They go home, they shut off, they come back next week, and it didn't persist. So let's in effect simulate a reboot by restarting the iptable service and see if our rules are still there. And they are. So they survived a restart of the service, so we know they're going to persist. Great. That's great. One more thing. etc sysctl.conf. Two more things. We need to add a line to the end to allow port forwarding. net.ipv4.ip_forward equals 1. And then sysctl-p I think I messed something up. Let's take a look. .ipv4 ip underscore I misspelled forward. Oops. Forward. There we go. Let's try that again. There you go. That's what you should see printed out. So anytime you encounter a problem, right, backtrack in the instructions and see. Cat proc sys net ipv4 ip_forward. And we see it's a 1, so we're good to go. One more thing. Keep saying one more thing, but there's lots of one more things. We need to go into our security group, right? Our router security group specifically. Because security groups by default drop all traffic unless there's a rule, right? So we need to edit our inbound rules, and we need to add a rule allowing port 2211. Whoops, I tried to use numlock again. Inbound from anywhere. And if I didn't fuck it up, this should work, hopefully. Let's exit. We're going to use the EC2 user. We didn't go through changing the user because we're going to delete this instance next lab and create it differently. And we're going to specify port 2211. Oh, I think I got the wrong IP here because we... Hold on. Let's see if we can... No, that should be the right IP. Time to troubleshoot. Yeah, I'm in. That's the right IP. No route to host. That's interesting. So let's see why things are not working. Let's clear. IP tables -I forward -j log, which I'm just going to leave in actually. There's a bunch of stuff there I don't want. That's interesting. So, we're going to do something. Is that the file? Nope, that's not the file. There's an IP tables config file. I'm trying to remember where the hell it is. This is the easier way to do this. Give me a minute. I'm going to pause, and I'll come back and I'll have the answer for you. All right, I found it. We're going to try something different. So we see that's empty. I flushed my IP tables rules. My NAT rules are still there. IP tables -save, and we're going to redirect that to TC IP tables, or not, sysconfig. we go. We got our rules all saved. So that should work. Hopefully. Restart IP tables. Let's try again. And instead of closing my terminal, I'm going to do a new tab. And so that's going to be, let's steal my command. Because it's in the history for this tab. Oops. I want that whole thing. Right click, copy, over here right click, paste. -P 2211, and let's, we don't want to exit. What the hell is going on there? Okay, so we're back into our router here. Clear our screen. Oh! I think we might be okay now. So try EC2 user. Look at that, we're in! Yay! So, if I hadn't got in here, things to check on the router, right? We could do sudo journal ctl -f, lowercase f, and we can see some stuff going on, and just leaves that running. And let's try again. So you should see, yeah, stuff happened. Control C to get rid of that. Or sudo tcp dump -n-i enxo port 2211. Might want to highlight that. Let's exit and do it again. And you should see the traffic that's coming in on that port. If you don't see it's being forwarded to the right place, you know that there's some funny business going on. So that's it. That's your video. Take the appropriate screenshots showing your new VPC, subnet, gateway, route table, your router VM, and that you can do this port forwarding connection, right? That's the most important thing, that this works. Because if this doesn't work, we're going to have big problems next week. So with that, take care, be safe, thank you for watching, have a great day. Bye for now.